We are the founders of a studio named Okdraw. We are based in Portugal, and we've been producing images and videos since 2013. We are currently a team of 5 architects and designers making this beautiful craft of architecture visualization. This image is actually part of a 3-image project. We have been contacted by a studio, architecture studio called Corpatelier, and they had this idea of an art installation on the landscape that could invoke the lack of water and the problem of water in the south of Portugal on our agriculture and even for houses, because they were also invited to be part of the Biennale of Architecture in Venice, in Italy. So they had this idea of kind of an aqueduct that could represent the trail of the water, the path of the water that Romans and past civilizations used to transport the water. Ourselves, with them, we came up with this idea of represent this aqueduct almost like a ruin, to evoke the idea that the water doesn't go where it's supposed to be. The images, this project, we made 3 images, and the first one is the representation of the kind of the fountain of the water. Then we have the image that you saw in the competition is like the fields are completely dry, where we cannot see there is any water on it. And then we can see the last one, kind of a problem with a super agriculture that we have on the south of Portugal, that is almost taking all the resources. We cannot take credit completely on the idea, but the idea of the communication that's on our side. We have done a lot of interesting process with them, with sketches, with concepts, and etc. And it was a really enjoyable process for us to work on this one. The landscape, it's kind of a very familiar to us, since Portugal is not a big country, but as a big diversity. So since we were kids, we have easy way of traveling during Portugal, along Portugal, and to understand this kind of different landscape. Actually, a little bit different from where we came from, because we came from the north, and the landscape is a little bit different, but we are very familiar. So what we did in this project, as we always do in all the projects, we kind of start with an investigation on images that found interesting, probably some images that the client already sent us, and we try to update these visual references as much as possible, so we can understand how the landscape work, how the colors work, what are the possibilities between the colors and between the light that we can explore. And this process for this project was the same. So we started with some ideas on the landscape, and then some ideas on the structure. For example, this idea of the structure being completely exposed, where we can see the steel or even the concrete, but in the end it came up being just steel. We start with this kind of they are not random references, they are not CG references, but we always try to look in photography and in movies and documentaries, anything that we can find interesting for the project. And then this is actually the presentation that we made, the first presentation that we made for the client. Where you can see here is other references that are nothing to do with Alentejo, but kind of more the cinematic kind of look that we also found interesting to present the clients, to discuss with them these ideas. And then these are some art references that we also found interesting to represent the project. It was kind of similar to. And then we have presented this amount of sketches. As you can see, there are a lot of them. We worked during a week to do these sketches, and they're pretty rough, but the main ideas are already there, and we have shared these with them, and we discussed this with them. And these, you can see, this is the first draft, the first concept. As you can see, it's very naive. The shapes are not are in very bad state, but the main concept, that the idea was there, the composition was there, the landscape is there, the main idea of having this element on the foreground, the sheets on the back, on the middle ground, sorry, and then the rest of the structure on the back. It's kind of an open process. We try to, almost in the beginning, try to get the most references as possible, especially real references and from photographs, from movies, things that we couldn't be inspired for.
1 week of exploration. I think it was 2.5 weeks for the project. Maybe you can expand a little bit further, as you were already on that subject.
Yeah, the thing was, on the first week we did this kind of part of the project, so getting references and exploring the concept. The client selected 3 images, as I said in the beginning, and then we spent the rest of the day, the rest of the week and a half, just developing the images. I believe there were 3 artists working in this project, so 1 artist per image. So the fluid process, but very demanding at the same time, because we had a lot of elements that were not on our daily basis kind of project, this kind of thing. But was this demanding, was a very interesting one, because of that. So as you can see, this is the pipeline there. The images go back and forward along the process in the studio. Everyone can comment and can give opinions on the process to the artist that is doing. We are very open to on that, to do this kind of process. We do 2 revisions with the client. So the first revision is almost just to confirm the concept, and then the other 2 are just to confirm details and things like that.
All of the sketches that you see here that are done, these drawing lines that are done on top of the images, the test images, these, as Hugo said, are mainly done by everyone on the team. So we all share this Miro board, and while the image is being done, we are also commenting on each image and kind of drawing, sometimes to see shapes or to try to understand the composition, to try to mark things that we can't forget that we need to improve or that we need to change, references that we paste just to get some ideas or to improve some parts of the image. So it's just like an ongoing process from the first time that the client chooses the sketches that we present until the very last time that we send the final image. It's an ongoing process of developing the image as further as we can. I believe the main challenge that we faced was a challenge that we already knew from the beginning. The client was also aware of that, and it's the fabric on the structure. So it's a thing that it's not as planar, as boxy as it's architectural usually. So it's a thing that is kind of organic, and it should have some tears, and then it should have some way to be wrapped. So the main challenge was to understand how loose the fabric should be, how transparent it should be, how many tears it should have, how would the ropes work against the fabric, and how we could translate that into 3D without looking 3D. And so we obviously had to recur to some simulation programs that were dedicated to fabrics, were specialized in fabrics, and we had to test several options with the stitches and the ropes, how much gravity we would need to achieve the kind of desired look that we were looking for, and a lot of tests to try to understand also the program, because it's not something that we usually daily use in our pipeline. It's something that we use from very time to time, very sporadically, and also looking from sort of references. We tried different settings, as you can see. Can you zoom out a little bit? Yeah, we had some different settings on the top, and we were kind of trying the same perspective with different settings and see how good it looked. And also then looking from some photographs that we took on buildings that were during the construction phase were kind of being covered with some kind of plastic wrap or fabric wrap, and try to understand similarities and things that we would like to achieve in the 3D. Also, the main thing was there was obviously a very big influence from Christo's previous works, and looking through those references, we also understood that the way the fabric could be worked on, as you can see here, it could be a little bit tighter, could be a little bit looser. You could have the ropes being a little bit more primarily in the image, taking the stand, and in some images they didn't take as much. And we were looking through different references of how this could work to try to achieve it in 3D. That was the main challenge, I believe.
We always try to find something that we enjoy in all the projects. Some of those are more fun, as you might expect, but others are not so. But this one was one of those cases that was super fun for us to work, especially because it was completely out of our daily basis kind of project. This is not an architecture building. There were not a specific site for the project, so we could go everywhere along this advantage in our dark landscape. And also, as that was mentioned, we could have a chance to work on a kind of material that is not our daily kind of material, like plaster or concrete, as you might expect on the architecture visualization. And so this was a very memorable project and the overall for us to work, because as you can see here on the sketches phase, we get the chance to go everywhere and explore all these different kind of moods, different kind of perspectives and colors, and for the artists that work with us, it's very important because we kind of get out a little bit of our comfort zone. Kind of projects push ourselves to be a little bit more artistic in kind of way. So it was also important and memorable to have the flexibility and freedom from the client to us. So they completely trust us, and in our vision, they give us very few directions in the beginning, just an idea, as I mentioned, a couple of sketches, and we had this completely freedom to work on the project. And this put us some responsibility, but put us a lot of joy to work on the project. So this was a memorable project in the overall for us. And then I believe the other memorable thing in this project is it's the chance to see our images on the Biennale of Venice, and in this big and super important architecture exhibition worldwide. So it's kind of for us that we work for 10 years in this field, and as Pedro has mentioned, sometimes we are in this little bubble, just working images from our studio to the other studios around the world. We don't see the kind of the replicas of the images on the replicas that the images can produce. And in this case, it was really nice to see the images printed with a frame in this beautiful building. Here, as you can see, this is the exhibition in Venezia, in this beautiful palace. This is the model from the client, some sketches from the client, and then as you can see, we have here our images printed. So it's very, very honored for us to see the images printed and being part of this exhibition in the architecture exhibition, the Biennale of Venezia.
We heard about it. We are familiar with the concept of the cloud rendering and the render farms. We've not actually used it yet. I believe we will have a chance in the future to try it, but unfortunately, it's not something that we had the necessity yet. It's usually, in our case, it's a little bit more specific to animation. Animation is something that we are doing kind of here and there. The need for cloud rendering is something that we haven't yet used, but we definitely know about it, and I think it's a very good concept for someone that doesn't have the infrastructure, the hardware structure, to be able to push the images and to do long animations. And so it seems very helpful to give these people the opportunity to have access to a structure that they can rent in the cloud, and give them the same opportunity as big offices to render the images. And definitely it's the future, to have everything in cloud and having access when you actually need it. So I think it's a good service.
Me and Pedro, we are the founders of Okdraw, but we couldn't be fair just talk about this work without thanking our collaborators in this work, especially Gonçalo and Marco that produced these images, and of course Catarina that also worked with us. That we kind of are the face of our studio, but we have to give the credit, of course, with the people that we work with, that they are super talented people that we enjoy to work.